Well, welcome. We are here interviewing South African authors, and today we have Nozipho Ndlovu. Nozipho and I have connected on Wisdom's Chats, and Nozipho's been part of Wisdom's Chats almost from the beginning, pretty much when we began in lockdown. And so I've got to know Nozipho's story, got to hear some of her ideas, some of her thinking, and she's been an incredible contribution to this conversational platform that we have at Wisdom's Chats. And but I have discovered that Nozipho is an author. So that brings us to today. Welcome, Nozipho. Lovely to have you with us. And I look forward to just hearing a little bit more about you and your book. So thank you for joining us. Nozipho, I'm going to start off straight away just to help us get to know you a little bit. And it starts basically with the acknowledgement in your book. And you name a number of people, which is all lovely, but the one that stood out for me was your dad. And you said something along the lines of your father's belief and investment in you is something that has influenced you. And so I'd really love to know a little bit more about you, but it's really through the eyes of your dad. And so maybe if you can just share a little bit about that with us.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you for having me as well. This is much appreciated. Thank you. My father was an academic. He was a great man, believed in education a lot. And his life was literally about education. You know, I always say as far back as I can remember, I don't remember my father buying me a toy, for example, but one of the things he would always bring home was a book, to the extent that, you know, in Christmas when people were getting all these beautiful presents, mom would buy us dresses and pretty stuff and toys, but dad would bring in these boxes of encyclopedias, and, you know, we were just constantly surrounded by those. And I remember one time I was doing my homework, and he was just sitting in the lounge on the sofa, and I was just writing. I think I must have been in, it was called Standard 4. I think it's now called Grade 6. And so I'm writing my homework, and, you know, he then says to me, he used to call me Stutla. He says, Stutla, this thing you are writing, what is it? So I explained to him. He says, you've been writing for 10 minutes flat from your head. I think you're going to be a writer one day. You know, those are one of the things I remember about him. But he invested a lot in our education and our future. One of the arrangements they had, him and my mom, was that whoever survives the other must make sure that all the children go through university. And that's how my mom then made sure that we all go through the university after my father's passing. So he was a great influence in my life. Very, very intelligent man. And, you know, it's also, you know, when you constantly have to look back to who dad was and trying to, you know, to be what he wanted you to be. Like, one of the things I remember is he always used to say, you know, he wants the minimum standard for all of us to be at least a master's degree. That's what he wanted for all of us. And so, you know, that's how we've always grown up, me and my siblings, knowing that this is what dad wanted. And, you know, my dad was a writer as well. He wrote 2 books. In fact, I've just come across one of his other book because I'd lost it. He was a writer. He wrote beautiful Zulu books, and that's probably where a lot of it comes from. He was a lecturer as well, and I'm in training. So there's a lot of what I do which is taken from my father, because I looked up to him. To a great extent, I still do.
It's how wonderful to have an example and a legacy like that you look up to, and then also, but to find yourself in that as well, and to appreciate education and to value books and achieving in an academic way, but at the same time be yourself. And I think that's, you know, what he would be so proud of who you are as a person, and not just what you've achieved. So I think that's amazing, Nozipho, that you acknowledged him and continue to do so. And that your mom has been alongside you as well. And so it's amazing to have that. If I can turn now to your book itself. So the book is a manual, really. You call it a manual, and I just lost the title for a minute.
It's a manual of a job seeker.
A manual for a job seeker. And
manual of a job seeker.
So
sorry about that. It's called the manual of a job seeker.
Right, the manual of a job seeker.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's this incredibly well thought through and simple to follow, but really full of gems for anybody who is seeking a job. So it's a young person who's setting out in life, maybe who has been looking for jobs and might have got a bit discouraged along the way, because I think that you spend a lot of time sort of lifting people up and saying, you can do it. There is opportunity out there. This is the way, you start with attitude, and then you move on to some of the practicalities of what it takes to look for a job, writing your CV, and getting prepared for the interview. And then you come back to attitude. Okay, now you've got these tools, now go out and make it happen. And so it really is this really incredibly wonderful manual that I think anybody, any job seeker would actually find helpful. So what prompted you to write the book? And what do you want to achieve through it?
When I wrote the book, Lee, I used to be in recruitment. I was in the recruitment space for a few years. And one of the things that used to bother me there was how, you had hundreds of CVs at the office. And when a client calls looking for someone to fill in a position, whether it was a temporary or permanent position, you still struggled to get a proper candidate that would be acceptable by a client. And I then came to realize that there's something missing, because even though you have all these young people that are looking for work, there's something that they don't have that the employers are looking for. So there was that gap in, they are not employable, they are unemployed, but there's a lot of unemployable young people out there. And what I wanted to do was to bridge that gap between being unemployed and being employable. So the writing of the book had a lot to do with, it was stuff I saw, because in recruitment, I probably in a day you do minimum 2 interviews, but sometimes more. So it was that gap that I saw. It was whenever I was interviewing young people, some of these things that I would pick up during interviews, it was when I was speaking to clients and presenting the young people I have, what I would pick up from them, but also my experience as well with the young people, because at that time I had a company, and when you employ young people, you'd come across certain attitudes and certain behaviors, and you sit and think, maybe there's certain things that are not taught at school and at university level that are important for young people to know if they go out looking for a job. So that's what prompted me to writing the book, because I remember we used to have things that we used to call them bright young things. Like you'd have a whole folder of bright young things, and these are the bright young people that you literally can put into any job, and you know that they'd be able to get it. And the more time I spent in recruitment, the more I realized that we don't have those anymore. you know, we're struggling now, but it's also, it's not a question of incapability. It was a question of more them not knowing what is expected out of them, and them not knowing what's the proper way to behave, or how to even go about looking for a job. Like, you know, you'd have young people that go, and it still happens now, where young people are going to go into an internet cafe, get somebody to write their CV up for them quickly, and you know, send the CV from there. And one of the things I address in the book is to say, you know, a CV is an introduction of who you are. And why would you want somebody that has no idea who you are to introduce you to your prospective employers? So it's saying, sit down and, you know, write your own CV yourself, introduce yourself to your prospective employers, as opposed to giving that responsibility to somebody else. And, you know, making sure that even while you do this, you know, you'll find young people that will say, I'm looking for a job, and I've been looking for a job for 2 years. And you ask them, right, when's the last time you sent your CV? And they'll say, maybe about 2 months ago. So it was that whole thing of saying, looking for a job is actually a job on its own, because it's something that you got to wake up and do every single day. So those are the things that I'd wanted to drive home to the young people.
So, Nozipho, you make the distinction between being unemployed and unemployable. So name some qualities or attributes of an employable person. What are you looking for that would make a young person employable, or one of those bright young things?
You know, a lot of it really has got to do with attitude. That's why you would have noticed in the book, I start with attitude and I end with attitude, because, you know, I can't tell you how many times I've met a young person, and these are the ones that fall under the category of your bright young things, where you meet a young person, but their attitude is just awesome. Like, you're sitting thinking, I have to find this one a job if it's the last thing I do. Like, you know, you literally want to get them employed immediately. Sometimes you don't even have a position, but you're thinking, I need to find something for this young person to do, because they've got that attitude, you know, they've got a great attitude. They're prepared to learn. It's been prepared to learn. It's been prepared to be taught. It's realizing that I am young. I don't know this. I look forward to be corrected, because that's another issue that, you know, we come across in workplaces. And if you're going to speak to a lot of people that manage young people, they will tell you how they struggle with correcting certain behaviors, because, you know, young people have got a lot of rights that you don't want to trample with, and you know, now they will very easily tell you, that's not my job. And it's that thing of saying, whilst you are getting into the workplace, there's nothing that should not be your job. You should essentially be in a position where you want to learn everything about the company. Like I always say, you know, you get young people that see it as an opportunity. If you say, for example, this young person is your typist, maybe she types CVs, and you don't have a receptionist today, so you say, please, can you sit in at reception? Some of them jump at that opportunity because here's something new that I'm going to learn. And you're going to get others that are unemployable that are going to say, no, but that's not my job. Why don't you get a temp? So these are the attitudes that make people unemployable, because, you know, it's the attitude, it's the mindset, it's the entitlement, because, you know, you get a lot of young people feeling they're entitled to certain things. You know, it's people that they don't really want to work, but they want to get paid. And you know, you've got people that come to work at exactly 8 o'clock and leave at exactly 4:30, or even 4:15 if they need to finish at 4:30. And it's the thing of saying, whilst you are young, this is the time you have to go all out. If it means finishing work at 6, 2 hours over your time, do that, because it's learning. So the refusal to learn is what makes people unemployable.
Wow, Nozipho, I think that's really, you know, sound advice, and it's something that we can all learn from. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you are young or older, there's always something more to learn. And I think if we can all kind of come with that mindset that, okay, maybe I don't know it all, and maybe there are opportunities with anybody and in every situation where I can find something new that I will learn. So everything becomes an opportunity. And I think we can all gain from that attitude. If you think about a current job seeker, and it's tough times. We acknowledge that. We know that even as tough as it was 6 months ago, it's now quadrupled in terms of how difficult it is to get a job. So understanding that context, and so maybe it's a difficult question, but given your experience and given what you've written, what would you say a new job seeker should prioritize? Where should they start? What is the 1, 2, 3 things that you would say these are essential for you to move forward in your job seeking work?
You know, Lee, just before we went into lockdown, the stats of young people, unemployed young people, was about 32.1% of the 10-point-something million youth that we have in the country. And this is people between the ages of 15 and 24 that are not in employment, education, or training. They call the needs group, not in employment, education, or training. And post-lockdown, that figure has gone up substantially because a lot of young people have also lost their jobs during this time. Now, one of the things, maybe not even one, maybe a few things that young people, young job seekers would need to focus on at this stage is it's recognizing that the job market as we knew it has changed. You know, what the job market was in February this year, that's gone. You know, there's very little pieces of that that's still around. The job market has evolved, and it's saying to the young people, it's important for you to note that whilst in the past we talked about writing CVs. I mean, it's even there in the book and the entire format of writing a CV. It's now no longer about the CVs. It's probably now time to go back and deconstruct your CV in a way that you sort of dissect it, for lack of a better word, where you sit and think it's no longer about a job, it's now about opportunities. So the market now is more towards saying, what opportunities can I get out of this? It's looking at saying, what skills do I have? How do I package my skills? Instead of me saying, I'm a trainer, it's saying, what skills do I have that make me a trainer, and packaging those skills separately so that if somebody needs something, I'm able to jump at that opportunity and not just wait for a job as a trainer. But if somebody needs, for example, somebody to manage a training project, I should be able to say, you know, that's an opportunity. I can do that because I have that skill. So it's going back and saying, what skills have you acquired over the years? How do you package those skills so that you're able to do them? I mean, you get a lot of young people now that recognize that the job market or the job economy has moved towards the gig economy. And by the gig economy, we're really talking at saying it's now finding the bits and pieces of work that pays. So if you are going to sit and wait for a permanent job, for example, you might have to wait for a very long time. Whereas if you're going to say, right, this is an opportunity, this is a gig that I've got, it's a paying gig. If I can do this for this person for a day or for a week, and this is how much I get, that's the mindset that's required. But going back to what is it that young people need to beef up on in their job search, it's firstly, you know, it's very important for you to know yourself. And one of the things I speak about in the book is the importance of, you know, a young person to sit down and do your own personal SWOT analysis, where you're analyzing what are my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's still relevant now because you have to know what are you strong at, what are you weak at. We're saying you're going to be looking at individual opportunities. We're also saying know what your your skills are, know also what your strengths are. Because if I know I'm very good with people, if I know that, that's a skill that I have. So it's saying, know yourself, know what you are good at, know what you are not good at, know what opportunities are there and what threats are there. But also develop a plan of how you plan to move forward. It's very important to have a plan, as with, with everything. And, it's been said over and over and over again, and I can't stress it further. Have a plan of how you plan to move forward within your career as a person. But beyond that, recognize also that we are now not just looking for jobs, permanent jobs. You are opening yourself up to opportunities that come by. But opening up to opportunities means researching, and that's one of the biggest critical skills that's there. Is, I always say to young person, if you have a cell phone that has internet, you've got the entire world, at your fingertips, because it's researching all day, every day. Spend time doing research. Opportunities are not just going to come knocking. They don't. You got to go out and look for these opportunities. So it's making sure that, you're doing research, know which sites to go on to do research, know the entire field you're working on. Know, like, if my field, for example, is in the training, I should be able to know everything that happens within my field without having somebody else tell me about what's happening. But that only happens if I'm able to be active in research. So if you're saying you're looking for a job, you should dedicate time every day, all day, to making sure that there's something you're doing towards finding whatever opportunities are within your space. And so those are the four things that I personally think are important in young people going out to look for jobs.
I think that is so valuable. I think it's so important to understand that, and I think it's holding this thing in balance, isn't it? That I've got a plan. So COVID isn't going to last forever. We don't know what's going to happen to the economy in 2-3 years' time. And so you want to have a vision of where you want to go, of a plan that says, this is my dream, this is what I'm hoping for in my career in 5, 10, 15 years' time. But in the meantime, I'm going to prepare myself by chunking down my CV. And I love this idea of you're looking for opportunity. So there's a day or a week or a couple of months where maybe I can do project management or even event, looking at, something to do with, I think, use the research. I mean, if people are researching, that is then becoming a skill. so you can actually become a researcher. So there's all kinds of things that you kind of got to think out the box too, isn't it? Is that your skills, you have to see them in different contexts.
Absolutely, definitely. I was doing training recently for an NPO that deals with young people as well. And they work with young people that are from TVET colleges to help them get into the job market. And one of the things I was talking about, because a lot of them are also within the admin space, is saying, understand how the admin space has shifted. Because, now you've got people that, for example, sit here in South Africa, and you find that they'll say, I'm a virtual assistant for somebody that's sitting in London, and I'm in SA. So with the shift, there's also been a huge opening, because the world has opened up totally. But you've got to be in the correct mindset to be able to pick up that these are changes. So, you're no longer just doing a CV, you're doing a profile of the skills that you have. And it's saying, how can I, because you can't say you're sitting and waiting for an admin job. You need to realize that that's also going virtual. So how are you positioning yourself virtually to say, right, my job is an administrator. How am I going to be a virtual administrator? How can I assist people outside that require what I do, some of my services?
And maybe connecting with other virtual administrators and picking up the crumbs that, you know, if they're busy, maybe they can outsource some of their work to you. And so you can build up your own reputation and network in that way. Mm.
Absolutely. I think, you know, you raise a valid point, a critical point there, Lee, which I hadn't mentioned and I forgot to mention, the importance as well of collaborations. You know, it's important for job seekers to understand that network with others, speak to others. If you find opportunities, share them with others. You know, we need to get into a mindset of saying there's enough for everyone within the space. So it's sharing, because the more you share with others, the more others will share with you too. You're not going to know about absolutely every opportunity that's out there, but the more you share with others, the more you speak to other virtual assistants and find out what they do, how are they doing this. These are the things that are going to help build you. And so these are also things that you're going to find within research, because this is you finding out who are the other virtual assistants that are there. You know, you've got things like now you can have somebody that you're just saying, I can help write you a proposal, for example. You know, I have a young lady, she probably falls under those bright young things column, because she's those people that are very eager to learn. Like she'd always ask, so what do you do? And you know, I'd explain what I do. And one of the things I did when we were busy trying to get a program online, and one of the things we've had to do is to put it in a particular format, but also take it from the learner guide into a PowerPoint presentation. And that takes up a lot of time. I mean, if you converting an entire qualification into PowerPoint, it's thousands of pages. And I've had this young person that, because she lost her job during lockdown, and you know, she would tell me that this is what's going on, which is also, it becomes important that speak to people. And when I realized that this had to be done, it was literally me sitting down with her and saying, listen, there's this that must be done. You have a laptop, please convert this onto PowerPoint. Let's agree on either a task rate or a daily rate, so that you get this done and you get it out of the way. These are opportunities that we talk about, that there's so much more that you can do. There's help people, you know, speak to other virtual assistants, but also speak to people that you realize, if you realize this person maybe is running a business, find out what you can do for them. You know, it's not saying employ me, but it's saying there's got to be something, because, you know, you will know, Lee, we're always struggling with balancing time, because there's always so much to be done. So if you can get a young person that says, out of this to-do list you've got to do today, I can do one thing for you and you pay me this amount of money, it's perfect. So that's what we're saying is, speak to people, network, collaborate, speak to everyone, find out what opportunities are there. Because, you know, you get people that become scared to ask or to approach you and to speak. And it's detrimental on that person's part, because if you don't speak, no one will know. So it's that thing, speak. You know, even if I didn't have something to do for this young lady, chances are, if another colleague within my space wanted somebody to help them with something, I would always say, oh, there's Michelle, she can help you with this.
And that's how we actually make a difference in our own lives, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Because I think when we hear the statistics of youth unemployment in South Africa, I think the temptation is to say, it's not my problem, I need to wait until somebody, mainly the government, is going to do something to fix it. And when they fix it, I'll be okay. And until then, I'm not okay. And here you're talking about very tangible ways that we can take more control of what we do.
Absolutely. You know, you're in the training space, Lee, so you understand this. With the whole introduction of stipends in training, it's now become so difficult for young people to attend trainings that don't have stipends. And these are issues we speak about when we speak about the unemployability of young people, them being unemployable. Because you know, you will have a learnership, for example, and they will ask you how much stipend they're getting. And if they think that stipend is little, they won't attend training. And then I'm left thinking, it's got nothing to do with stipend. It's got everything to do with what you must get. A stipend is it's just the means to enable you to get to the training and back. But it shouldn't be about the stipend. It should be about, I'm going to develop as a person. If I attend this, I'm going to be trained in this. This is an extra skill that I can get to have. And you know, you get young people, going back to your point, that will sit and say, I want to attend training, but I'm going to wait until there's learnerships that are available. You can't sit the entire year waiting for learnerships to be available. You know, there's free courses online that you can do as a young person. You know, don't sit and say, I'm waiting for the government to give me a learnership when the learnership must have a stipend. You'll be amazed, Lee, at how many young people refuse to attend training because there's no stipend. And so they're not going to come to the training. And you're thinking, you know, there's a mindset shift that has to happen where you're saying training is about self-development. It's got nothing to do with the stipend that you're getting when you go there. You know, my father used to tell me a story about how, because he came from a poor family, how when he went to study he was at UFS, University of the Free State, and he left there, you know, he would say his mom gave him 20 rands, and he didn't even have a place to stay when he was there. Like, you know, he would always talk about how there was a time where he would not have a place to sleep after class, but he wanted to be at school. And he figured, whilst I'm looking for a place, I'm still going to be attending lectures. I'm going to go to lectures, whether or not I'm from, I mean, he was from KZN and I get to go to university at the state he was accepted. But that just goes to show the hunger for education. And that's what we're saying to young people, is that you've got to be hungry for your own personal development, regardless of what it comes. You know, you can't just say, I'm going to sit and wait for a job. That's why our niche statistics are so high, because a lot of young people are sitting at home waiting for this job to come knocking. It's not going to happen. You know, there's something else that I speak to young people about, is to say, all of us, when we come into this world, we all come with a particular gift, a particular talent. You know, there's no one that doesn't have something that they're good at. No one. It's recognizing that I'm good at this. How do I make money out of what I'm good at? Because it's about saying, how do I survive out of what I have while I look for other opportunities? The other day, I went to do my hair. See my hair? It's new. It was done on Saturday.
Beautiful.
The girl that did my hair, though, she was explaining to me how she's from Mpumalanga and she's based in KZN. She came here to study electrical engineering, and she hasn't had a job in electrical engineering the whole year. But what she did is she started working at salons, just temporarily doing people's hair. And she says to me, you know, I've made so much money out of doing hair that now it makes my job search much easier, because I'm no longer looking out of desperation. I've got this thing. She says, you know, I've got my own flats. I pay for my own flats. I've got a life that I'm able to sustain. This is total. I mean, imagine an electrical engineer being a hairdresser. But this is the mindset that you want, because you want to say, if you've got another skill, you know, you've got a talent in this, make money out of that. If you know you can do hair, charge people to do their hair. Don't just sit there and say, I'm going to do your hair for free, or I'll do it when I feel like. But it's recognizing that even the job search itself is expensive, because you've got to send out CVs. You need data to do these things, you know. So it's saying, how can you make money? How can you hustle to make sure that you are able to get money, so that the job process becomes easier? Because some people will tell you, the reason I haven't sent a job in a month is because I don't have money to send a job. But it's saying, find something to do. You know, we suffer, young people suffer from a mentality of, what are people going to say? If you go to other countries, if you go to China, for example, you are going to find young people outside in the street selling food. A normal young person here is not interested in being in the streets in certain mood because, hello, my reputation. Do you understand? So it's that thing of saying the money you get out of being in the street, if you are prepared to go out in the streets and say, right, this is where the market is, I'm going to sell here, you still make money out of that. And that's the money you are going to be able to use to be able to advance yourself, to be able to make the job search process easier. But you know, you would much rather be selling something in the streets, if you must, or at a rank, and make money out of it than sit at home and do nothing because you are waiting for the government to do something. It's that mindset to say, don't just sit and wait. Do something in the meantime. You can't just sit at home and say, I didn't manage to get into university this year. I didn't manage to get into a TVET college this year. So I'm going to sit down and wait for next year. No, find something to do. Like, you know, start your own small business. So, you know, people within communities are always in need of different things. Find something you can sell. You know, people need. One of the beauties of this lockdown has been seeing how innovative young people have become. You know, you've got young people that are now offering to deliver things for people over a certain age, because you know now you've got certain people that are scared to go out because of the current situation. So it's, if you're a young person and you're sitting at home, go to the next door neighbor and find out what you can do for them. Maybe they need you to go get medication for them at the pharmacy. Maybe they need you to go get groceries for them. Do that thing and make sure that you make money out of that. Like if you must plant vegetables, if you've got a piece of land where you can plant that, just do something. I can't stress this enough. Like you can't just sit and wait. There's no such thing as waiting for a job. It just does not exist.
I kind of want to blast this out to the to the world really, because I think it's, again, it's appropriate to young people, but to all of us, who I think maybe life just gets on top of us and we get discouraged, and then you feel like, what can I do? And it's that feeling of being overwhelmed. And I think, you know, what you're saying is just do something, however small it is. And I love the examples that you've given. And I think all the examples that you've given also help us to realize that, yes, you might be doing those things to earn some money so that you can apply for jobs, or so that you can get more education and training. But in the process, you are learning new skills and meeting new people and understanding how the world works. And so now you're adding to this CV. And I think we underestimate how, and I just use an example quickly of my daughter, who's a musical theatre performer. And she had a side business of doing social media campaigns for production companies. And now, of course, theatres are all closed. All her work in the theatre is disappeared. And what she called her side hustle has now become her main hustle. And it's that you don't realize that life will throw you curveballs, and you need to be able to pick up what you thought was just a passing thing, now suddenly becomes the main thing. And it will see you through for a period of time until then you can pick up the main thing again later on. But now rich because of what you've learned.
Absolutely. You know, the reason why your daughter, for example, was able to make that shift is because she had the main thing and she had a side hustle. And that becomes important because, you know, you get young people that say, I have a job, I'm covered. One of the things COVID has taught us is that a job is not security enough. So you can't just sit and say, I have this one job that pays me. So after work, I come back, I go home, I sit, I watch TV, I go to sleep. It doesn't work. You know, even if you have a job presently, nothing stops you from getting a side hustle. And I love the example you just brought up of your daughter, because it brings this point forward. Should anything happen, you are able to pick up a side hustle. And you've got so many people that have left what was the main hustle And now the side has become the main. What was the side hustle is what then is able to sustain them moving forward. And so it becomes, like I always say to young people, it baffles me how a 24-year-old or a 25-year-old is going to go to bed at 8 and at 9. And I'm thinking, how? How? Like, why are you spending that time in bed? Why are you sleeping? Do something else. That's the time you should be running your side hustle. You can get home at 5, rest for 2 hours, between 7 and 10, even 3 hours, or 7 and 11. Focus on something else, because that's the time you need. There's going to come a time where you are not able to have 2 jobs. But you have to know that, whilst you are still young and you've got all this energy, use it to develop yourself. You get young people that will say, I did 2 degrees concurrently. And I always say, wow, well done. Because, that's saying, I know I've got all of this energy. What else can I do with my time? And, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting rest, with catching up with friends and with doing all of that. But it's saying, don't just sit and say, I've got one job, I'm sorted. I think COVID has proved to a lot of us that there's no such thing as being sorted in one job. It becomes very important for young people even have multiple streams of income, where should anything happen to the stream, I've got this stream as well. But have a side hustle that's just dedicated to something. Whatever you get out of there, you are literally saving or investing. That's it. So you bring up a very valid point. It's important that young people have got, we don't know. I think the one thing.
Oh, sorry, Nozipho, I'm losing you now. There you go. So I just missed the last thing that you said.
Okay. How's my network now? Is it?
There you go. There you go. There you go. I think we
Better.
We basically got the essence of what you were saying. And perhaps what I can do is just wrap up now. And I think what I'd like to just find out, because I just think anybody who's going to listen to this interview is just going to so value these incredible insights that I think could really change somebody's life if they took it seriously. And so I'm very excited about that. But I'd like to just come back to you. So you've written this amazing book. You work with young people. You train and develop young people. But what is it that lies ahead for you? What's in your what are you working on now, and what is keeping you going at this time?
It's I'm in training as well, and the training that I'm in has got a lot to do. Like I train young people, but I also train small businesses, and I'm very passionate about the training of small businesses. So what I'm busy with now is I'm busy with something we calling it. I'm actually currently on the 3rd chapter of a book called Manual of an Opportunity Seeker, which has got a lot to do with what we just spoke about. But what I'm now doing is I'm looking at linking the young people to small business owners, for example. I have a database of business people that I train that are probably not in a situation to be hiring people full time. And so on this platform, it's more a skills emporium platform. And what we're doing here is we're saying, these young people, like what we spoke about earlier, was saying, have a portfolio of the skills. What skills do you have? So it's having something where we're saying, it's like more a small business resource to say, if you know you've got these things to do, you don't have enough time to do them, you can tap onto our small business resource database at the Skills Emporium and say, I need a young person that can do this for me. It's more like it's gigs, like the freelance gigs where you're saying. So we're looking at connecting the small business people we work with to the young people that are currently looking for work and saying whatever skill you can offer. So if, for example, I'm looking for somebody that's going to write a proposal that I must submit, you should be able to get from the Skills Emporium a young person that would be able to do that proposal for you and send it to you. You just check it and you okay it and you move it forward. So it's looking, that's what I'm currently working on now, to see if we can have that link, to link the two in between. Those are birds. They come
You
up
are.
at this time. Every time.
They're applauding. Yes, yes, yes. We hear you.
Apparently, I started, like, when I read up about them, in the olden days, every morning and every evening, there used to be birds would come out and sing. It's literally, it's a celebration of life. So when I see these birds, people then, as life happened, we kind of forget how to wake up and be grateful to life. So when they do that now, I recall that, oh, these are birds, they're happy, let me be happy with them too.
But Nozipho, this venture that you are working on of connecting young people with skills who need experience and who are willing to do gigs, so they're willing to do small jobs, and then connecting them to small businesses who can't employ that somebody full time, but also need to manage their time, and so would be able to afford not a full-time employee, but somebody who can do a job at a time. And I think that is an incredible resource to connect these two. I love what you call a skills emporium with small businesses in a very, very practical way that works for everybody, that is not, it's more than volunteering, you know, it's actually is providing work that works for both parties. How amazing. So I wish you all the very best for that, because I think there's, it's an incredible venture, and one that I'm hoping will then have a ripple effect, and that we can then expand and expand, because that sounds like an incredible model.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. I also will be reaching out for people like yourself that are in the space of training, because I know you work a lot with business people as well, to make sure that, you know, the word goes out. I love working in collaborations. So if you also have got something to add towards that, feel free to, we can just chat about it as far as we can, because I think there's a lot that can be done around making sure that, you know, small businesses are properly resourced, because especially now with this current situation, there's a lot of shortage in small business people. There's a lot of things that they're no longer able to do. You know, a lot of them no longer have offices. They had offices before the situation this came about. A lot of things have crumbled. They've had to, you know, they've had to retrench a lot of people. But, you know, in order to build up, work still has to be done. So it's saying we've got this resource of young people that have skills. So what we do is, you know, that's why I'm writing this manual of an opportunity seeker, to say to the young person, package your skills in this way. This is what we can do. And then say to the small business person, you are looking for a particular skill. If you just need somebody here for 2 hours, you know, and the beauty of the situation is that you can even email what you need to have done. So a young person can sit at the comfort of their home, open a laptop, do whatever it is you need to have done. They do that for you and they send it to you. So it's saying, it's saying to the small business person, don't wait until you can employ somebody to be able to do that, because, you know, you still need, one of the things that small businesses suffer with is efficiency. And you still need people to help you be efficient. So it's saying, in order to help you to be efficient, use these resources as and when you need them. And, you know, be more efficient, get more stuff done while you're rebuilding your business to get back up to normal. You're also giving somebody else a skill. And, you know, you never know what comes out of such assignments, out of such things. So it's literally, it's creating assignments that are win-win situations for both parties.
And I love that too, because as you say, you never know, because as I say, cycles, everything happens in cycles, doesn't it? And a good job that you do for a small business owner in 2020, come 2022, that person is now, maybe their business is thriving, and they, you know, Thabo did a brilliant job for me. I'm going to get hold of him, and there might be the opportunity, the job, that's the opportunity that's now become the job. So it's all about the sowing the seeds as well, isn't it? You know, you ahead of time, you sowing, and you never know when the harvest will come. But you
Absolutely
definitely not get a harvest if you don't sow anything. So that's there's a truth in that too. Yeah.
Well, I love that. Like, you won't get a harvest if you're not sowing anything. I love that. I take that out of this interview. Thank you.
Well, Nozipho, it's amazing. Thank you. I mean, we've an hour has flown by, and it's been such an enriching time. So thank you so much. And I look forward to, and as you say, this is an opportunity for us to also work and collaborate together. So we'll definitely make that happen. So thank you, and wishing you well. I look forward to seeing Manual of an Opportunity Seeker. And so watch the space. We'll probably do another interview down the line.
And now that you know about it, and now that people get to know about it, it's going to help me to finish it even faster. Because, you know, if you're the only one that knows about it,
I love that. Now we're creating a deadline.
Yep. Absolutely.
All the best, Nozipho. Bye.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thanks for having me. This was much appreciated. Thank you, and all the best.